I guess if it's this quiet in here, I should start a meeting. Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for November 27th, 2017. As you can tell, we've got full chambers this evening. So if you can come in and kind of find a seat, and if you'd like to stand as well, you can continue to do that. Give you a few highlights on our meeting this evening. We've got several items of special recognition this evening, and we're very proud to have that as a regular agenda item. We have a total of 5 altogether, and so as you can probably tell, we've got a team that wears a lot of red in here, so they'll be honored as well. And we also will have, again, as I mentioned, 5 different items. So for the sake of keeping things orderly, when we conclude item 6E this evening, that will be a second proclamation that we'll present. I will, in essence, dismiss all those that would like to go home for the rest of the evening, or you can stay and see how government works in action. So a few other highlights. We have a rezoning this evening, third and final reading. We have a public hearing on an ordinance change as well. Tonight, our invocation will be led by our Public Works Director, Mr. Bo Mills. Alderman Massey will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we still have thankful hearts remembering the Thanksgiving season, and we're so thankful for this city that we have, this safe place to live and to work and to play. Just thankful for all of our public servants and thankful for these officials that have gathered tonight to conduct the business of this city. We just ask for your wisdom, your guidance, and direction to be upon them as they do so, and bless staff as they make their presentations tonight. Lord, we give you all the praise and glory and honor. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Takes us to item number 4 on our agenda this evening, the approval of the agenda. In a minute, we'll take a motion for that. During executive session, the board meets in executive session each board meeting at 5:30 and goes over the agenda in detail with presentations. During that time, one item 9F, Design Supplement Number 2, Design Standards for Forest Hill Heights Small Area Plan, was requested to be pulled and removed by City Administration. So that item will not be, item F will not be part of the consent agenda this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as modified? Move to approve. It's a motion. There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Abstain.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
The agenda has been set for this evening. That brings us to item number 5 on the agenda, the approval of the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting held on November 13th, 2017. During executive session, there were no items identified for correction. Are there any at this time? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented to the public?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
The minutes have been approved. That brings us to item number 6 on the agenda, special recognition. The first item on the agenda, item 6A, 2017 Healthier Tennessee Community of the Year. Steve Walensky will come forward and make that presentation. And Mr. Lawton, are you assisting? Or?
No, Serena Flowers will with the governor's office.
Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. This is such an exciting award for us. We've worked for over 2 years, and actually it was an unexpected award that we received. I'm going to, would you like me to read the recognition first? So the Healthier Tennessee Community of the Year is awarded by the Governor's Foundation for Health and Wellness to the community that has exhibited the greatest overall success in the areas of 1, diverse representation and proven leadership of the Wellness Council, 2, impact, participation, and sustainability of wellness initiatives, 3, galvanizing the education, business, and faith communities, 4, engaging local leadership to support the council and initiatives, 5, advocating for policy changes to advance Healthier Tennessee community priorities, 6, marketing and promoting Healthier Tennessee initiatives. In earning this prestigious award, Germantown was recognized as leading the entire state in our Healthier Tennessee community efforts and for having exemplary programs that set the standard. This goes back a couple of years. In 2015, we were the first West Tennessee city selected as a Healthier Tennessee pilot community. Later that year, we were again the first city in West Tennessee to receive a 2-year designation as a Healthier Tennessee community. We were also the first city in West Tennessee to qualify for a $5,000 grant, which was used to build the Healthy Germantown brand, which you see over town in our own special logo. This ongoing campaign is to promote awareness and participation, and it can be found online on the city's website, on Facebook, through our GMSD television show called Healthy Germantown, and at numerous events throughout our community. Finally, we just completed the first Walk Across Tennessee campaign with citizen teams, city teams, and GMSD classrooms combining to travel an equivalent of 65,000 miles in 5 weeks. And that was comprised of 36 teams, 180 citizen teams. They made up 24,491 miles. Employees, we had 22 registered teams, 110 people, and they logged 18,724 miles, including Alderman Owens, who rode 500 miles to Destin. We only counted the distance to Olive Branch. And classrooms, we had 21 registered teams, 423 students who logged 16,468 miles. 713 people registered, 64,683 miles logged. And with me tonight is Serena Flowers, she's the West Tennessee Regional Director, representing the Governor's Foundation. When we began, there weren't too many cities beyond us, but that has changed, and we're very thankful. Serena lives in Jackson. She's traveled here tonight to be with us, and she's been a leader in our Wellness Council for the last 2 years. I know she wants to say a few words.
Again, congratulations to the City of Germantown. When we started this initiative across the state, there were 9 pilot communities. We are now up to over 100 communities across the state, and as of tomorrow, 46 will be designated as a Healthier Tennessee community. So again, congratulations to Germantown for being one of the first in the state to be recognized, and now the first overall state winner for the Healthier Tennessee Community of the Year. Congratulations.
Mr. Walensky, I'd like to ask Alderman Owens, who vice-chaired the Wellness Initiative for the last 2 years, if he could step down and receive the plaque on behalf of the city. I know it's a proud moment for you and all the people that served on the 30 or so member steering committee. If there are any that are here in attendance this evening that served on the Germantown Wellness Steering Committee, please rise. And matter of fact, Dr. Jantz, if you could come up, and you were so instrumental in leading us as well. Another round of applause, please. We can't underscore how proud we are of the collective efforts, and we are going to continue being a healthy community for many years to come. Thank you, Serena, for coming here. You've been very much a great partner all along the way, and I would be remiss. We've got a city employee that just tirelessly works in this effort day in and day out, and as a matter of fact, she went to, I believe, to Nashville to receive the award on our behalf, and that would be Sharon Haley. And so if you could make sure, Steve, you share with Sharon that we appreciate her efforts as well. That takes us to item 6B on the agenda. Yes.
Mayor, may I just a couple of comments?
Yes, go ahead.
I'll
Go
try
right
to be
ahead.
brief. I know we've got a lot of folks
Take
here.
your time.
But I am proud. You hit the nail on the head. It's been really my great privilege and pleasure to help co-chair this Wellness Council. And I just want to say thanks, first of all, to my fellow board members, you, Mayor, for your support of this initiative. You guys have supported it with your dollars in the budget every year. Thanks also to Serena. Appreciate we could not have done this without you pulling us along, showing us, guiding us, giving us good instructions on how to do this. But 3 people in particular I do want to recognize, and one of them, as Mayor you said, is not here tonight. First of all, Brian Jantz. Brian, you were so helpful in facilitating our meetings and leading our Wellness Council. Steve Walensky, our HR director, who worked tirelessly in this effort and pushed us forward. But as you mentioned, Mayor, certainly Sharon Haley deserves so much credit for this. She is our HR specialist, and without her, this award does not happen. Her tireless efforts and volunteering for this effort went way above the call of duty for her job, and so we're so appreciative and grateful for her. I'd be remiss if I didn't say thanks to our TV studio and crew as well. And finally, leader in the state. I feel like Germantown is a leader in a lot of ways in the state, but I really have received calls from folks within Shelby County and Bartlett. Alderman Stamps in Collierville has contacted us wanting to know how we did it, what we're doing, and want to learn from us. So again, I'm very proud, and I thank you, Serena, and tell the governor thank you for this award.
Well stated. There's going to be a lot of clapping tonight. That brings us to item 6B on the agenda, the Beautification Commission Business of the Month Award. Vice Mayor Gibson will lead us on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to recognize Southern Social as the recipient of the November Beautification Commission Business Award, and we're joined by Beautification Commission member Natalie Williams. I would ask that Mr. Joe Fain, managing partner of Southern Social, come forward, please. And Mr. Fain, if it's all right, as you approach, we will read this beautiful recognition for you. Southern Social, located at 2285 South Germantown Road, was selected by the Beautification Commission to receive the November Beautification Award by a unanimous vote. Next to the historic Germantown Depot, and now a primary business in the old Germantown district, this fine dining restaurant, featuring a chef-inspired menu offering fresh seafood and prime steaks, opened in 2016. Though the street side of the property is undergoing renovation as part of the city's Germantown Road Streetscape project, the completed gas patio off the main entrance is open and adds exceptional curb appeal to the business. The evergreen plant palette of arborvitae and dwarf hollies provide year-round screening and interest to the restaurant amenity. The level of landscape detail, maintenance, and care of this Germantown business demonstrates pride in their appearance and their commitment to helping the city look beautiful. The Beautification Commission and the city is appreciative of their efforts. Southern Social, we thank you so much for being a good business partner to us. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again to Southern Social. We appreciate you making sure that the city looks beautiful exterior and that you provide a great meal on the interior. So thank you again. Takes us to item 6C on the agenda. Tonight will be a donation from the library. I'd ask Mr. Lawton to begin this presentation and ask Jackie Cliff to come forward.
Yes, Jackie, if you'd like to participate. Mayor, I'll be brief, but we are very grateful to have a donation from the Suburban Garden Club in the amount of $2,000 that the city will be asked to recognize and accept this evening. As the board may be aware, or is aware, several months ago we brought forward to you a project to make substantial improvements to the drainage area on the east side of the Germantown Community Library, also to make enhancements to the fountain, the beautiful fountain that is on the north side of our building, to allow our residents and visitors to the library to have better access to both of those amenities. That contract was let by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, but prior to that, city staff had been working very closely with the Suburban Garden Club to get their design ideas, to understand what would really help beautify that entire area, not only around the fountain, but certainly in that what is now going to become a rain garden. So they have provided the city with a contribution in the amount of $2,000 to go towards the completion of that project, and the city is extremely grateful. And Ms. Jackie Clift is here this evening. I know other members of the Suburban Garden Club as well.
Right. I would like to introduce to you Ann Piper, who is president of Suburban Garden Club this year. Melissa Jones is also here with us. She has been instrumental in designing this garden from 20 years ago. So we have been at this project for a long time, and we're glad to start the 21st century saving water and using conservational plantings, and we're excited to do it and to teach other people about it. So we thank you for this opportunity, and we also thank you for putting in hardscape walkways that will be accessible for all people, because I think it will make the garden much more attractive to everyone visiting the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cliff. We actually have to take action on a donation and contribution, and so at this time, is there a motion to approve a donation in the amount of $2,000 to the City of Germantown from the Suburban Garden Club of Germantown, and to approve budget adjustment 18-22?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have a feeling this won't be controversial. Please call the roll.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Let me think about it. Yes, okay, that's good.
Alderman Barziza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Thank you. We, for the last 20 years, as you mentioned, Jackie, the Suburban Garden Club has been instrumental in making sure that the library is beautiful and accessible and a place for meditation and being outdoors, and so we greatly appreciate your ownership of our library, literally and figuratively. Thank you again. That brings us to item 6D on the agenda this evening, a proclamation honoring the 2017 Red Devil football team, and we are so proud of this team. I would ask if the head coach could come forward, and perhaps your captains for this year. I'm assuming you have captains for your squad that are here, and maybe they can join you, and if you could turn and face the audience as well, and we'll read this proclamation here in a moment. You guys have made us very, very proud for the entire season. You have accomplished, before I read this proclamation, you've accomplished great things without a doubt. From day one of practice to the conclusion of your season, As a former high school and college coach, I know you've put in a lot of time, energy, sweat, and hard work, and I've been to several of your games this year, and so I've really appreciated being part of your team and you letting me be part of your team. So I'm going to read a proclamation into the record. I think it would only be befitting that if I give this proclamation to Vice Mayor Gibson and ask Alderman Owens and Alderman Yonda to join you you five gentlemen. They're all alums of Germantown High School. I know they take great pride in calling themselves a Red Devil, so I think it'd be fitting if they could just stand with you guys as well. I think Alderman Yonda was maybe an all-state lineman. Alderman Owens played football for a year, and then he decided to start running or something like that. But he's done 2 or 3 Ironman triathlons, so he's tough, guys. He's real tough. And so for the record, let me read this into the record this evening. A City of Germantown proclamation. Whereas the Germantown High School Red Devil football team went undefeated at 10-0 in the regular season, beating defending 6A state champion Whitehaven in the final regular season game. Finished at number 4 in the Associated Press 6A state football poll and are the 2017-18 6A Region 8 champions. And whereas the Red Devils scored 492 points, had over 4,500 yards of total offense, and made 70 touchdowns, the defense surrendered only 156 points and created 107 tackles for loss, 40 turnovers, and 26 sacks. You guys were the monsters of the Midway. And whereas the Red Devils have 15 all-region players, the Region 8 Coach of the Year, Chris Smith, the Offensive Player of the Year, Jalen Williams, a 6A Mr. Football finalist as well, and the ABC Channel 24 Scholar Athlete of the Week, Ethan Payne, with a 4.3 grade point average. And whereas 2 players have committed to Division I college programs, Max Martini to Toledo and Jalen Williams to Indiana, and Max Martina and Jalen Williams are also on the East-West All-Star team. And whereas currently 6 players have college scholarship offers, and whereas the Red Devils are 6-time Team of the Week across multiple media outlets and were nominated twice for the Tennessee Titans Game of the Week. Now, therefore, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Germantown take great pride in honoring the Germantown High School Red Devils football team and hereby proclaim November 27, 2017 as Germantown High School Football Team Day. Yeah! You gentlemen are very, very deserving. What a great season. We're very, very proud of you, and we hope that you continue in your pursuits of excellence in the classroom and any other sports that you play. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have one more proclamation, and then we'll take a short break. But again, we are very proud of you, and we're very thankful for your efforts here in Germantown. That brings us to item 6E on the agenda this evening, a proclamation for the Costin Foundation Purple Month for Pancreatic Cancer Awareness. Let me read this proclamation into the record. The City of Germantown proclamation, whereas Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month was established as a national month of awareness throughout November, and whereas Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month is a celebration of philanthropy and volunteerism where people give whatever they are able to give, and whereas Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month is a month where citizens work together to share commitments, build a stronger community, and think about those affected by one of the deadliest forms of cancer. And whereas it is fitting and proper during Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month and on every day to recognize the tremendous impact of philanthropy, volunteerism, and community service in the city of Memphis and the city of Germantown. And whereas Costin Foundation Purple Month for Pancreatic Cancer Awareness is an opportunity to bring awareness to the Memphis Nonprofit Foundation and encourage citizens to serve others throughout this holiday season and during other times of the year. Now, therefore, I, Mike Palazzolo, Mayor of the City of Germantown, do proclaim November 2017 as Costin Foundation Purple Month for Pancreatic Cancer Awareness. I do have a proclamation to present, and I would like to mention that Mr. Costin is a resident of our city and very active in this pursuit. Those representatives still here? Yes. In action, you can. If you'd like to go home and have dinner, start on your homework, guys, or hit the weight room, whichever. Any of the special recognition folks, if you'd like to leave now, would be acceptable. So. I lucked out on that. Hey, Coach. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll put it in our office. Put it on something. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Wow, I gotta, huh? Did you bring a snack? Have you had your shots? Then it won't matter.
Well, we never adjourned, but we're back in session. That brings us to item number 7 on the agenda, our Alderman liaison reports. We go from position 1 through position 5. Alderman Barzizza.
Thank you, Mayor. As from the Historic Commission, as a reminder, Santa Claus will be at the Railroad Depot Museum this coming Saturday, December the 2nd, and also Saturday, December 16th from 1 to 4. The depot will be closed on December the 9th due to the parade. I wish Mr. Costin was still in the room, but the Senior Advisory Commission is, as I mentioned in previous month, or previous meeting, recognizing Dr. Tucker Larkin with a tree. Dr. Larkin actually died of pancreatic cancer, and it was a very quick and very painful death for him. But his wife, Peggy, is also going to donate a bench to go right next to the tree. And I think we certainly missed Dr. Larkin on the commission, and they've been friends of mine for a long, long time. But anyway, many thanks to you, Patrick, for making sure we got that tree paid for. Appreciate it. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Gibson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Neighborhood Preservation Commission met last week to go over the successful Neighborhood Summit to see what we can build on for next year as we continue to encourage residents to get in the game by finding ways to connect within Germantown through their neighborhood association, a local nonprofit, or being on serving on a city board or commission. Also planning for the tour of remodeled homes and landscapes, which will be April 22nd, 2018, has begun. Lots of hard work, and we are looking forward to having hopefully 2 new members to join us for that work. The Education Commission also met last week, where preparations for the Battle of the Brains competition are underway. This is the Commission's annual science, technology, math and technology. I've lost one of the items that go in there, that will be held February 3rd at Houston High School in the main lobby. We encourage any students who live or go to school in Germantown to sign up now. Those Battle of the Brains applications are due by December 8th, but the event itself, it will be open to the public. The Library Board met last week. Very busy week. Every Book Counts initiative will still be underway, where we are encouraging you to get a library card, read and log in your books to help a GMSD school classroom. Also, if you know any children ages 0 to 5, register for Books from Birth, which is that monthly book program to instill the love of reading in our children. The Beautification hosted the holiday tree lighting event at Municipal Park Lake, where the Germantown Community Chorus sang carols. Park rangers were joined by Public Works and Facility Services at the Marshmallow Roasting Fire Pit. And members of the commission passed out cookies and milk as children waited to see Santa. If you have not been to Municipal Park in the evening lately, please go. It will be a special event for you. It was a wonderful night by all, magical. The holiday tree lighting contest has begun. If you or your neighbor or a city business, if you would like to nominate someone, please do so on our city's website, where you can download pictures of your nominee. This year, all of those nominations will be online. The prizes will be awarded to contest winners, and the deadline to submit will be December 12th. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Alderman Massey.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a report for this week.
Thank you. Alderman Owens.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I don't have a report per se, just to update you that the Parks and Recreation Commission will be meeting this Thursday night to see the results from the consulting vision of our Parks Master Plan. We will be reviewing that and hopefully be presenting a recommendation to this body shortly. I would also like to say, as formerly as under the Beautification Commission, Mary Ann, Alderman Gibson, it was a spectacular evening, very special, magical, as you said, and I know that doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work that goes into that, so my heartfelt thanks to the Beautification Commission for all their work in that. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman Yonda.
Thank you, Mayor. No meetings.
Great. And from the Mayor's office, just to conclude Alderman Liaison reports, I just wanted to say congratulations to Reserve Firefighter Stephen Fisher, who received the Reserve Fighter of the Year at our Commission Appreciation Dinner. Also, I'd like to thank John McCreary, a Germantown resident and home builder that worked huge efforts to put together our welcome cottage at the Bobby Lanier Farm Park, as we had a ribbon cutting for that recently. I'll echo the sentiments of several board members on thanking staff for what was probably one of the best tree lightings weather-wise and beauty-wise that I can remember in many, many years. So thank you, you guys. All the different departments make that happen each and every year. And since Public Works does a lot of that work, I would like to welcome Andy Sanders, who is our new Assistant Public Works Director. He just started a couple weeks ago, and he's up from the Tuscaloosa area. So welcome to the city. We look forward to working with you for many years to come. You've got a good one over there. He learned a lot from Sam, and now you'll learn a lot from Bo. And then I'll just conclude with the Vesta Home Show continues in Germantown at Chapel Cove through December the 10th. The charity of choice is the Germantown Education Foundation, and so $1 from every ticket raised goes straight to support public education in Germantown. So if you've not been out to the show yet, they've got record numbers, and the weather has been good and cooperative, and come out and see what's being built in Germantown. That concludes our Alderman Liaison reports. Anyone come forward for citizens to be heard? Miss Betty? That brings us to item number 9 on the agenda, the consent agenda. As mentioned earlier in the meeting, the consent agenda was thoroughly reviewed in executive session. It was part of the package that went out to the public and has been modified. Item F, Design Supplement Number 2, Design Standards for Forest Hill Heights Small Area Plan, was pulled by request of the city administration. The following items are on the consent agenda this evening. Item 9A, donation, police from the Germantown Women's Club. Item B, the Public Education Government Disbursement Grant to GMSD for the first quarter. Purchase of trucks. Item 9D, purchase police vehicle equipment. Item 9E, repair sewer truck engine repair. Item 9G, right-of-way acquisition, Track 16, Germantown Road, Wolf River Boulevard intersection improvement project. And item 9H, another right-of-way acquisition, Track 26 on the same road. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified and published?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda? Yes. Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Abstain.
Consent agenda has been approved. That brings us to the traditional agenda for this evening. First item on the agenda is item 10, ordinance 2017-07, rezoning of part of Lot 2, Wolf River Center, Phase 1, first edition from C2 General Commercial to RH Retirement Housing, third and final reading. Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As you just stated, this is for a portion of Lot 2 at Wolf River Center to be rezoned from general commercial to retirement housing. It's a total of 5.284 acres. The first reading of this item was on May 8th, 2017. The second reading and public hearing was held on June 12th, 2017. This site is owned currently by Baptist Memorial Healthcare Corporation. It was originally developed as part of the Walmart store in Germantown. In 2004, the Planning Commission gave preliminary and final site plan approval to subdivide this area into multiple lots. And this is a portion of Lot 2 and has remained vacant since the last development agreement was approved for this area on July 22nd of 2013 for the new Baptist Rehabilitation Hospital. The Planning Commission heard this item in April of 27 and recommended approval of the rezoning to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. This application was postponed for the third reading to allow the applicant to better understand and coordinate project scheduling relative to the purchase contract, as well as some development approvals during that time. So just to coordinate you, Wolf River Boulevard, Germantown Road, this is the Baptist Memorial Inpatient Rehab Center, and this is the area, this little aerial view with Baptist Rehab and then the undeveloped site. As part of any rezoning application, a concept plan has to be submitted. This is the concept plan that was submitted as part of the rezoning request to the Planning Commission. This request was precipitated on the change in the neighborhood, the change in the area, the change in the market that we've seen in the Wolf River corridor, and so the applicant is looking at an independent living, senior living health property that would be proximate to all of the medical care, as well as parks, greenbelt, and shopping opportunities that Germantown has. So this is just a concept of a concept as to what they would be potentially bringing forward after the rezoning is approved. This does fulfill Germantown Forward 2030 strategic objective of economic development practices supporting economic sustainability, as well as encouraging investment in our key commercial areas. The applicant representative, Mr. Markham, is here tonight, and staff is also available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Appreciate the presentation. Is there a motion to approve on third and final reading ordinance 2017-7, the rezoning of 5.284 acres of part of Lot 2, Wolf River Center, Phase 1, First Edition, from C2 General Commercial to RH Retirement Housing?
So moved.
Is a motion?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. Questions for staff? Alderman Massey.
So Cameron, I'm kind of at the same point I was at with the land across from the commissary. I favor residential housing. This is kind of different to retirement. But I do have a question, because the city has very often said that we need more commercial development. So when we look at this from a tax revenue standpoint, we're changing it from the commercial zoning to the residential, which frankly, Mr. Markham, I'm glad for that. I like to see that. But I still get questions from our residents. Why are you sending two conflicting messages? You either need more commercial or you don't. Why are you changing some residential zoning to commercial, and then on the other hand telling us that this zoning change was precipitated by the change in the area and we now need residential there?
Alderman Massey, I think you could look at this at a couple ways, but this has been a vacant site since 2004 without any commercial development on it. The opportunity to provide residential redevelopment of this vacant site provides enhanced revenue to the city. Multifamily projects are still taxed at a 40% rate above residential tax rates, so sort of in the middle of commercial and residential. This does bring a significant amount of new residents to the city, but it also provides a generational housing opportunity to allow people that want to stay in the city but don't want to stay in their large single-family homes to still live in the city and bring in new residents to the city, so it continues to grow our tax base in an alternative way, but it also provides taxable income and proximate live, work, play, a mix of uses in this key commercial area. So it still fulfills a variety of the city goals, as well as capitalizing on residential and commercial tax growth.
If I could add to that as well, Mayor and Board, that when an applicant comes forward and the property owner of the property, they certainly have the right to look at making zoning changes to their property, but going through the proper process to do that, through the Planning Commission and ultimately to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. It's not city staff at any point in this process, particularly early on in the beginning, to be able to say, no, stop, that's not going to generate the type of property tax revenue we're looking at. There is a process and a right that the owner of that property has to pursue that property to what they might determine to be its highest and best use. So that is the process, that is the step. In terms of fiscal planning and where the city is, as we do our budget and our 5-year financial plan, we know the type of development that's coming on because there's not a whole lot of Germantown yet to be developed. So we can make some long-term projections in terms of our fiscal sustainability from that standpoint. But certainly early on in the process, we will look at what that impact is, but that's not going to direct or defer the applicant from moving forward with what they see as the best use of that property. There's a process in place through our various boards and commissions and then ultimately to this body.
Cameron, as you know, one of the concerns has been the number of apartments that we're getting in Germantown now. So what studies have been done, that show that we can handle this number of apartments coming on? And is there a chance that while it says that it's going to be retirement housing now, that could be changed in the future?
So the retirement housing is a land use classification as well as a zoning classification. The market itself, the plan of Avenida, who will be taking ownership of this property, is an age-restricted model for multifamily rented apartments. That can change to a model of condos similar to the Village if they want to go into a buy-in model. but the retirement housing portion will always be in play until another zone change comes forward, and it follows the process that Mr. Lawton went through that would have significant review by the Planning Commission, by staff, and by this board.
So if I were to vote for this tonight on the basis that it's retirement housing and they wanted to change that, they would have to come back before the board and ask for that to be changed for something other than the retirement housing, correct?
Yes, the zoning request in front of you tonight is for retirement housing. There are other categories that are relative to multifamily for other types of multifamily products that aren't going to be age restricted.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Barzizza.
Yeah, I was actually under the assumption it was going to be more like the villages, but this will be an apartment community, monthly rentals or yearly rentals or leases, what have you, whatever, and just by retired citizens who want to be in the close to the medical area.
I'll have to let the applicant's representative answer these specific questions.
Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Greg Markham, the Reeves firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue, Suite 101, 38138. Alderman Barzizza, yes, to go back to your comments, Alderman Massey, there are deed restrictions in their leases that say that you have to be 55 and older to live in this facility. So yes, there are some things in play that can protect against a 20-year-old coming in there and living or whatever. Repeat your question, please.
I was under the assumption all along that this was more like the villages as a retirement community where they buy into it, and after the demise of the individual, then it goes back to the developer, not the developer, but the owner of the, like the villages, and then it's resold again.
No, it is not that case. These are monthly or yearly rentals.
Yearly lease.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Alderman Yonda.
Mr. Ross, you did say that this is going to be taxed at the 40% commercial rate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any guesstimate on the value of this investment on the property?
No, sir. That'll come with application material as they
Okay.
move forward through the planning process for the final plan approval.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor, on behalf of Avenida, we do want to thank you for allowing us the time to kind of get all of our ducks in a row and making sure that we have the proper variances that we needed. We needed a height variance. We needed a setback variance for some garages. So we thank you for allowing us that time, and would appreciate your thoughtful consideration tonight.
Any other questions for staff?
I do.
Alderman Owens.
Yeah, just a comment. I know a lot of times Attorney Harris will tell us that when we have a rezoning change, we give our reasons for the rezoning, and I'm certain that all of my fellow board members have read the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting, but just to sort of rehash what some of the reasoning was, certainly in the Planning Commission's mind and in my mind, there has been a change in the area since the Walmart vacated and when it was zoned commercial. A lot of the commissioners felt that the likelihood of this particular site and the back there being developed as a retail was very limited. There was much discussion about the impact that if it was to develop as a retail site, that the negative traffic impact that would have upon that intersection. We all know the congestion that exists there, and so this would be a much more complementary land use in terms of what the medical corridor offers and fitting in with the medical corridor. And I guess finally there was some discussion about, while this is simply a conceptual plan that we have before us and we're just looking at the rezoning, I think the applicants talked about having a dock with maybe a pier outside the back area there, which would be a lot more aesthetically pleasing, if you will, for those who are using the greenway there and looking out, rather than having a loading dock or something of that nature that might be there.
One more.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or Vice Mayor, you're the only one that's not had the floor. Would you like it?
I would not. Thank you.
Alderman Barzizza.
To reassure, this will be taxed at the rate of commercial as opposed to residential.
40%.
40%. 40% of the commercial rate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Markham.
Go ahead, Alderman Massey.
Mr. Markham, how many units are y'all planning?
I believe right now it's around 160. The architects are just now getting their hands on the project, but somewhere between 150 and 160.
And for some of the other apartments, kind of the selling point was that these are going to be what they call luxury apartments. Is that kind of the same concept that you're going with these?
Yes, sir, absolutely. You know, very nice living spaces. You know, they're all going to be fit and finish as nicer than many apartments or even some of the homes here in Germantown. So.
Now, I hope you understand why I'm struggling with it. Just with the number of apartments that have come on, I've voted in favor of this project twice to get us to this point. But I'm struggling now with the concept because it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be from a conceptual standpoint. It's sounding a lot more like apartments to me, and I've struggled with that. It's nothing against you and the plan. It's just.
No, I understand. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned tonight is traffic.
Right.
If this were a C2 commercial development and or an office, another medical office development, Wolf River Boulevard is already at a failing road. As y'all know that, we're in the middle of a right-of-way acquisition to improve that intersection. And this is a very low traffic generator. And the residents of this community will not be coming and going at peak times when the Wolf River Boulevard is backed up. So again, I think traffic is really one of the better things that will come out of this. And if you were to put in another shopping center or whatever, it would really kind of mess up the parking over there. So, not the parking, but the traffic.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant? It's been a motion properly seconded. Please call the roll.
Alderman Yonda.
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza.
Yes.
Alderman Gibson.
Yes.
Alderman Massey.
Yes.
Alderman Owens.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would just point for the record, that site was eventually, or at one time, part of a landfill, then a Walmart, so it's been repurposed a couple times, and I'm not sure if we're going to allow skiing on that lake.
Not just yet.
Okay, all right. It said a dock, so I was wondering if there's going to be barefooting out there. All right, that takes us to item number 12 on the, I'm sorry, item number 11 on the agenda this evening, Ordinance 2017-08, amend Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 5, Section 182 of the Code of Ordinances, revision to Neighborhood Preservation Commission membership requirements, second reading, and public hearing. Mr. Lawton.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. The Neighborhood Preservation Commission was established in 2002, and they had 4 really expressed areas, and still have 4 expressed areas where they are involved regarding their their stated purpose. 1 is to encourage development and strengthening of neighborhood associations. 2, involve citizens in community safety initiatives. Number 3, educating homeowners on property investment. And number 4, improving compliance with city residential ordinances. The work of the Neighborhood Preservation Commission, if you step back and you look at what we're trying to accomplish in Germantown Forward 2030, absolutely consistent with the work and the strategic objectives identified in that long-range planning document. Also, if you look at what is the role of government in terms of preserving our community and our neighborhoods, and absolutely the Neighborhood Preservation Commission fits that role to a T in terms of the type of services and the work that they provide. Recently, however, and we're at the second reading on this ordinance, the staff liaisons, the member of the commission, the members of the commission itself, and the alderman liaison and the chairman, in looking at their makeup and where they are today, notice that 2 of the members are appointed by the Planning Commission and 1 member shall be appointed by the Design Review Commission. Based on what I just mentioned and the purpose of the Neighborhood Preservation Commission today, they're very hands-on commission. This commission does not increase the number of members who will serve on the commission, but rather the intent is to remove that requirement that there be a Planning Commission and a Design Review Commission member specifically included within this body. They're great people, did a good job, but it's just not necessary in 2017. And so that request is coming from within the commission, city staff, and liaison. So the public hearing and the amendment before you tonight is to still keep the number at 12 in terms of the way the ordinance is written, but remove that requirement that a planning commission member and a DRC member specifically be appointed to serve on this commission.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton, for your presentation. Is there a motion to approve on second reading ordinance 2017-08, amending Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 5, Section 182 of the Code of Ordinances?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. This requires a public hearing. At this point in time, I will open a public hearing. Anyone in the audience who would like to come forward to the podium and speak on this ordinance change, please come forward at this time. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this ordinance change? Third and final call. Seeing no one come forward, that concludes the public hearing portion of this meeting. Any questions for staff? Vice Mayor Gibson.
Just a comment, Mayor. We're joined tonight, our chairman of our Neighborhood Preservation Commission, Allison Avra, as well as one of the hardest working members of our commission, Ms. Margaret Ann Owens, who is also the newest Joe Reed Award recipient. I just wanted to thank them for their hard work and appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for staff on this particular item? This will move it to third and final reading. There's been a motion. It's been properly seconded. Please call the roll.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Moves to third and final reading. Brings us to item number 12 on the agenda, property and casualty insurance renewal. Ms. Piefer.
Saved the best for last, didn't we?
Exactly.
Insurance. Yeah. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present the property and casualty insurance renewal. It's one of the most important expenditures for the city to protect our citizens, to protect our property, and to protect our employees. I know it's $1 million, but it's $1 million almost, Mr. Yonda, well spent. For more than 2 decades, the coverage has been provided by the TML Risk Management Pool. It's a professionally operated, nonprofit, captive arrangement sharing pool for the Tennessee municipalities. Basically, it's a pool operation that we utilize for all the counties across the state of Tennessee, and share that cost. So it makes us have better pricing, better renewals, better rates. That was actually done by our TCA, Tennessee Code Annotated, allowed for the city to do that. TML also provides all the necessary claim services, loss control, and ready access to our risk management products. Our current policy runs from December 1, 2017 through December 1, 2018. Our overall premium for the entire year coming up is $969,720. Does cross over physical years, however we budget for those. As Patrick said earlier, we were under budget by $41,000, and we typically try to make sure that we are forecasting that properly. And in order to do that, we also utilize Insight Risk Management to help us place these policies, but also in our day-to-day operations of risk management. None of us are experts in this, and these guys are. Mr. David McDonald helps us. I probably have him on speed dial, call him not every other day, but a lot, David, right? To make sure that we are doing the proper things that we're supposed to be doing with our insurance. He is here tonight, and he is going to explain in better depth than I can what the property premiums are and why we are where we are. And we're in very good shape. Patrick alluded to earlier our ISO rating, and Mr. McDonald can explain that a ton better than I can.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. A little bit about kind of what's going on in your various lines of coverage. First, the property coverage, your total insured values are higher than they were last year. But the city obtained Protection Class 1. That does a couple things. Number one, it does bring down the rates for you and for all your constituents that have homeowners here. So you are the largest property owner in the city of Germantown, so the reduction of your Protection Class to Protection Class 1 obviously affected your premium more than any single homeowner or apartment owner out here. But what it also did, and I thought this was interesting that the way that the Tennessee Municipal League looked at it, it's a cultural thing with your fire department. Not only did they do what they needed to do to obtain the best protection class in the country, they did it, and it bleeds out into other parts of your coverage. It bleeds out into best in class on the liability. It bleeds out into best in class on the workers' compensation. So that is obviously very, very important. Workers' compensation is up. We do have some large claims that have hit this past year, but we also had something that happened 3 years ago. 3 years ago, they changed the credit that would be allowable for a $10,000 deductible. When I saw what was going to happen 3 years ago, I went up and sat down with them and talked to them, and I said, look, these deductible factors are going to affect all of your policyholders that are out there. Why don't you take a look at putting these in over a 36-month cycle, which they agreed to do. But that was offset by a higher dividend. Liability coverage was about level. I do want to go back to the member dividend. The pool makes absolutely no profit. They are simply a financial vessel that sets reserves, collects premiums, and at the end of the year, whatever is left over, whatever excess is left over, is paid back to the member participants. It's paid back on the size of the premium that you pay in. It's also factored out by how good your experience was in that class, and it's also factored out is the size of the premium, the experience, and it's also factored out into a 5-month rolling experience, a 5-year rolling experience, which means that if you have one single bad year, they don't say, oh, well, we're not going to give you any dividends on that line of coverage. They roll it over 60 months so they don't hit any municipality that has a shock loss. Like the city of Gatlinburg will get a property dividend credit this year, even though they had a significant loss up there with the fires that they had. Any other questions that y'all have?
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Thank you, Ms. Pfeiffer. Is there a motion to approve the renewal of insurance coverage and payment of premiums, less the related dividends, per the attached renewal information to the TML risk management pool for property, workers' compensation, and general liability policies?
Move to approve.
Is a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions for staff or discussion? Alderman Massey.
Sure, I think I should probably start by disclosing that at one time I joined a partner who was affiliated with Mr. McDonald. I don't think there's any existing relationships there that would affect either one of us, David, but I did want to at least note that. Are you comfortable with that, the way I explained it? I am. Okay. So my question would be, and this is really for staff, is where is the information about the deductibles and things of that nature? First, Mr. McDonald mentioned a $10,000 deductible, and so have those deductibles changed since last year to this year?
No, sir.
And
they've been static.
Can we see that information, maybe have that included? There was probably some sort of proposal that was given to
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir. There was a proposal given with that. If you'd like to see that, I'd be happy to provide it for you.
Well, my suggestion would just be to have it included in the packets next time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And to see also how the TIV has changed the total insured value, just so we'll know. We mentioned that. It'd be good for everybody to see that, I think. Then you'd be able to see exactly how much the protection class change has affected the rates. Because if we have a significant increase in total insured values and the rates have gone down, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's a great thing. It shows the protection class improvement has helped us on our rates. I agree with all of that. But when I'm sitting here, I don't see it in front of me, and so I don't know if that's true or not, and I don't know how much of an impact it really had. Things like our work comp claims, our property claims, all of that, I think it's things that board members need to take into consideration. And by the way, this is what I do for a living. So, but when I'm looking at these things, when I'm sitting before a CEO and I'm giving a proposal, these are the things that they ask before. And it's not a reflection on what David's done. I think he's just done what was requested of him. So I want to make that very clear. But I don't think that we have enough information to actually vote on this tonight. personally, I would prefer not to vote based on the information that we have. I think we'll vote on it. I think it'll be approved. But then the other question I have is, when was the last time we went to market on something like that? That's probably something, David. Do we do that every year? I just don't know.
I'll let Mr. McDonald actually answer that. And then
Most of our clients that are in single cell captive arrangements, which means that this is a homogeneous cell across the state of Tennessee, don't go to bid every year. In fact, the law actually supports that. The reason is that there is total transparency. There are mayors of municipalities that are on the board of the Tennessee Municipal League Risk Management Pool, and so most of the time they don't go because you know well in advance. We know well in advance exactly what the rates are going to do. They know well in advance what the marketplace is doing, what the reinsurance is going to cost that they seed in, and so very, very few. And the only times I've ever seen it bid, the pool's been significantly lower, and I do have several accounts with the pool, but and then also, you know, we get the process is we work off a series of spreadsheets back and forth that are equipment lists, that are property values, and everything else, and so that is what we get together about 90 days in advance. To get all the TIVs up there and to get all the rating mechanisms up there with the pool, and then I go up there and go through everything with them myself.
What I was thinking is just total insured value, just one number, whether, you know, it included all the equipment.
167 million. It's 161 million last year. We had an increase of $6.2 million worth of property. A big portion of that was the Germantown Athletic Club and the renovations that we did there, some other new facilities that came on board. I'll comment to the amount of information we like. This has kind of become a process. I've done it for 40 years now. Each year it kind of gets a little bit different on how we provide things. We used to provide the whole packet of information, and then a group did not really need all that information, so it's just simply a matter of I have the information. I could go to my office right now and put it in your hands if you wanted it. It's just not something we've done in the past. We've put a journal information together for you, provided you the rates, provided you the information and questions to be asked. Certainly can provide that information going forward.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking you for not having it. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to do, is single you out and saying that you didn't do this the way I think you did this the way that you've been asked to do it. This is what I do for a living. David knows why I'm asking these questions, and I don't want either one of you to think that my comments are directed at either one of you individually. I just think going forward, as someone who does this, it'd be good for everybody to see and understand.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Barzizza.
Thank you, Mayor. Is the newly acquired property for the school site in that number?
No. No, it's not part of.
Should it not be?
No.
No, that would be, the land acquisition is going to be under the Germantown Municipal School Districts. And then when the school is built, the school will be under the Germantown Municipal School District.
Thank you.
And there's no insurance exposure on the bond issue, so that would be of no consequence under a property and liability policy.
So in essence, in the school system needs to have an insurance policy, liability coverage on that vacant ground. It's vacant now.
Correct.
And they
do
have that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to make
Mr. McDonald also handles, and TML also handles the school district as well.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for staff? It's been a motion. It's been properly seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Alderman Massey?
Abstain.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Alderman Yonda?
Yes.
Alderman Barzizza?
Yes.
The motion does carry and passes. We've reached the conclusion of our meeting this evening, and I will just reiterate for the board, if the board ever needs access to staff to meet and look over data, we are readily available. I want to thank our officers tonight, Al, Eric, and Steve, for protecting us and serving us. Thank you. We are adjourned.